Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions to Images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberatore is the founder and art director of Visions to Images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions to Images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberatore, owner of Visions to Images. All right. Hello, everybody. I have Katy Fuerst on the podcast today, and she's the executive director at Feeding Medina County. I'm a part of the Synergy group, and we kind of have known each other and crossed paths and donated for quite some time now. So I thought it was great to kind of have her come on, talk about not only Feeding Medina County, but nonprofits and all of that in a nutshell. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay. So it's a long and interesting story. I guess the best way to kind of start it is that in high school, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so I think it was my junior year. I went to Catholic school. They gave us this big test, and it was supposed to tell you what kind of career you should be or you should have. And so my options were a bus driver, a geologist, or a nun. So I've come to terms with the fact that they probably just marked every other test as someone should be a nun. Still don't quite get the bus driver or the geologist. I'm not really a science-minded kind of person, and driving big things scares me. So it's not happening. So really, I went to college and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. If it was up to me, I would probably be a perpetual student and just learn everything. But I really fell in love with sociology and the study of people and really understanding why folks do what they do. And so while I was at school, I started at Kent State. I moved to Cleveland State, and I worked the entire time. So I was working at a pet store, and one day I realized, this job is great, but that's not something I can do forever. I can't work in this for-profit world where essentially I'm just there making money for someone else. And I felt like, wow, this work that I'm doing has no purpose. And from that moment on, I started to look at the nonprofit sector. And I thought, that is where I belong. And hey, maybe that's where that nun aspect came in on that test my junior year, is that maybe I am meant to do some kind of service. So I was a manager at a pet store, and I moved to a nonprofit, an animal shelter, and I moved into a managerial role there. And I thought, wow, this is like my dream job, except my salary went down maybe about $60,000, which was a pretty huge hit. And I realized in that role that I didn't know what I was doing because the sectors were so different. So in for-profit, you're just there, you're making money. In the nonprofit world, we always say, oh, you're expected to wear a lot of hats here, which is no joke. I mean, you have to raise funds, you have to make your programs function, you have to do marketing. It's everything just wrapped into one. And so at the same time, my husband and I had gotten married, had our daughter. I said, I'm going to take a step back from management and just go in and work programs and figure all this out. So I kind of worked my way up within different organizations. And I finally got to a role where I was managing programs and development. And I decided I would do my master's of nonprofit admin. So I did that at John Carroll. And at that point, I was so ready. I'm like, I just want to hit the ground running. I want to, lead an organization, have a bigger impact. And we had moved to Medina County. So I knew I wanted to find something here, local, where I could help my own community. And when I saw the posting at Feeding Medina County for the executive director position, I felt like it was just fate. So I put in my application, kind of put a few other jobs that I was interviewing for on the back burner and focused all my energy there. And here I am.
No, I love it. And I think that, so many people have their stories, and it's what makes them unique and different. And the thing is when you're in high school and college, like so many times people don't even understand what they want to do. I was in that situation and I was in that boat. I didn't
I always had in the back of my mind ideas, but like you said, you take these tests and then they tell you this, and then you realize, oh my gosh, I have to do all this work. That's not for me. Like I thought I wanted to be a preschool teacher in college, and then I had to take foreign languages, science, math. And I was like, nope, that's not me. And so then I started to really go into the arts, graphic design, photography, all that fun stuff. And I was like, yeah, this is much more me. Right. And I was like, who cares? It's my degree, because people always downplay certain careers, so to speak, because they're like, well, you can't make a lot of money. You're the starving artist, et cetera, et cetera. I hear stereotypes for nonprofits, right? Oh, you can't make a lot in nonprofit world, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, if that's what you love and do, who really cares about that end of thing? Yes, it's good too, but you want to do what you love more importantly.
I agree 100%. If you're doing something and your heart's not in it, it's soul crushing. Like, you need to get into the right role, the right field where you feel like you're doing things. And that is such a stereotype with nonprofits too. I mean, I remember talking with someone and they said, tell us some stereotypes about nonprofit. We were in a group conversation and someone said, they suck your soul away, or like they suck you dry. And I was like, oh, that's terrible. But it is kind of true because, our sector, we expect so much of everyone. And we have excuses, right? We say, oh, well, we're nonprofit, or that's not in the budget. We can't do this and we can't do that. At the end of the day, we're businesses. There's so many of us and so many nonprofit professionals that are amazing, doing huge, important work with very limited budget, very limited staff. We're CEOs. We don't have that same prestige as someone in the for-profit sector, but here we are doing it on a shoestring budget. And it really is, I could not see myself being anywhere else. This is the sector for me. This is what I'm meant to do. And I really do love it. Every day I wake up and I know there's going to be some kind of a challenge. And that's what I like. We're going to figure this out. My small but mighty staff, my amazing volunteers, we're going to rally together and solve whatever issue is at hand and move forward, because that's what we do.
Absolutely. And I mean, so when I first started working with a lot of nonprofits, I was like, man, they probably don't have a budget. How do they survive? Like all these stereotypes, right? And in a sense, like, can they afford things? What can they do? Because a lot of times, even now, I still work with nonprofits and they need that marketing help. They need that assistance. And, they have budgets. It might be tight, like you said, but they have budgets and you're still a business, right? Like we forget at the end of the day that nonprofits are still a business. And I think that's important. And I love the fact about wearing many hats. I mean, a lot of times, it can suck sometimes to have these many hats to wear, but at the same time, like I'm a person who, if I have to do the same thing every day, I'm going to get bored, right? So I love to kind of have that diversity and doing different things each day and wearing those different hats. That's kind of why the agency world is so important to me, because I don't want to sit in a corporate job doing the same thing every single day. But at the same time, I want to help corporations really get great marketing and visible. So
yes,
it's always different with each and every person. So I love it.
Hey there, I want to interrupt this episode with a quick message. If you're listening to this podcast episode and want to learn about branding your franchise or small business, then go to brandingbridge.com. That's branding-bridge.com.
So tell me now, I know you have a lot going on. So tell me what you're most excited about.
Right now, when I came on board in 2021, I was really excited about kind of getting our programs to where they needed to be. I felt like as that one of the biggest food pantries in the county, that we could have a bigger impact. So I was able to work with my team and my volunteers, and we got our presence and our impact to increase by over 115%. Super excited about that. It's amazing. It's where we should be. It's what we can operate at. We now have distributions every week. We're in 4 different areas of the county. We're in Lodi, we're in Brunswick, we're in Medina, we're in Wadsworth. I love it. This year, I'm really excited about working with my board and my staff more to kind of fine tune and finesse our image. And so, working on telling our story better, letting people understand like who's behind these numbers. I feel like when food banks and food pantries talk about our clients, we always go, oh, we served, 17,000 meals, or we had 432 cars, drive through our distribution. And that's great. but there's people behind those numbers, people that are eating those meals. There's people in those cars, there's families. And it's important to me to tell people's stories in a way that preserves their dignity. I like to do things anonymously, but even just to have people hear quotes and to hear why we do this, because why do we get up and go out to the fairgrounds at 5 a.m. and, slip on the ice and figure out what to do in the sub-zero temps that we have here in Medina? Because we want those people to have food at the end of the day. And I need to get better at, telling that story and making sure that people understand who's behind the work that we do, because I do feel that our community loves us. They rally around our nonprofits. They know it's important work. I want to make sure they know just how important that is.
The community loves you, absolutely. And it's so heartwarming to kind of see it always come to life and people come together, and that's what's amazing about that community. So I love that. And yeah, telling a story is so powerful. I can definitely agree with that. I mean, I'm actually working on a strategy with a client right now because they want to increase their social media. And I'm like, time out. We have to do 3 things first before we can even do social media. And are they going to like my answer when I propose this? Well, maybe, maybe not. But the fact is that story needs to be built before you can even start to strategize for what you're going to post on social media. I mean,
right.
That was one of the biggest things. They've been in business, for goodness, I don't even know how long. It's been at least 40 years, right? So where's that story of how it started and where it is today? Like, that's more powerful right now than just blasting on social media. So it's understanding that story and who's behind it and how we can really get that message out there to so many people. And that's the power of social media and digital marketing right now.
Yeah, I love it. It's officially our 10-year anniversary March. And so I'm really excited to use this as an opportunity to tell our story and to explain, how we started. From what I've heard, and I've been talking to some of the past leaders and past board members, we were packing 50 bags of food for people a month. We're serving almost 3,000 people every month now. So that is a huge difference. And I'm excited to figure out how to tell that story. And I want to do it in really a multitude of ways because I get it that people absorb things differently. So I want to make sure that we're focusing on telling that story with numbers, telling that story visually for the folks that, like me, want to see things and see that change, and telling it through emotions for the person that really feels things and wants to feel that and feel that connection. So I'm excited. I think that last year, with the focus being on programs and now getting that to where I feel comfortable and letting our program director take that on and not having my hands in that pot so much, I can really focus and work with our development and marketing manager to just finesse all of this and really, let our stakeholders, let our community know what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I think that's powerful. Hands down, that's a great vision to have. My last question for you is, if you had any advice to somebody, whether they're starting out, whether they're trying to get into the nonprofit, anything like that, what kind of advice would you give someone?
I guess a lot of it would be, don't give up. I feel that in the nonprofit sector, if you have the goals and the aspirations to move into a director role, understand that it's going to take some time. A lot of our sector, I feel, is built on reputation and people getting to know you and getting to know your work. And it's important to, kind of, I guess, let those who have had a voice in the sector, kind of take you under their wing, listen to them, still do your own thing, but, don't be so fast to hit the ground running. It was one of my first jobs in the nonprofit sector. I had my first job review and I was a little offended at the time, but my director said, you're kind of naive. And I was young. I was probably 25. So it hurt a little bit, but it's like I had all these ideas and I wanted to do everything and change the world and solve every problem. And I realized when she said that I needed to take a step back because she had been doing this for, 25 plus years. And there were things to learn. And I'm not saying that the old way is always the best way, but you can see what's working, see what's worked in the past, and then think of new ways and build upon that and bring your own, flavor to that. Be yourself, be an unapologetic, leader. When things aren't right, speak up and don't be afraid to use your voice, but, get out there and do it. If that's your passion, follow your dream, you'll make it.
Yeah, I love all of that. And especially the part where you're kind of talking about, figure out what worked before and add your own twist on it. I mean, you always talk about what happened yesterday or a year ago or 10 years ago in business might not be relevant today. So we always have to adapt and adjust and overcome. I mean, who knew that a pandemic would still be going on 2 years? How many years has it been? 2 years?
I don't even know.
Yeah, I feel like it's ongoing.
Too long.
Right? Exactly. Too long. So it's like we always are adapting and changing, but we still know what works. So we're just adding little pieces to make it better. That's just important for any business, no matter if it's in your marketing, if it's in your business admin, if it's in anything. So I love that you touched on that because it's so important.
Thank you. Yeah. And I think think strategically, right? So we always want to look at the past and see why things worked or didn't, but that gives us more of an opportunity to strategize around that and figure out a way to move forward.
Yeah, perfect. No, I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And I will add in the link for Feeding Medina County and have people connect with you.
Thank you. I'm excited. I really appreciate being with you today.
Thank you, everybody, for listening in on today's Brand Clarity episode with Susie Liberatore. 2 things. First and foremost, please, if you liked this episode, please subscribe and leave some positive reviews. Also, don't forget to sign up for Stop Sending Your Customers to the Competition and get my insider secrets to compelling branding that converts. You can find that at branding-bridge.com. It's a free workbook for you to check out right now, all of the branding techniques and strategies that I use for my paying clients.